everybody. Welcome back to Communal Expressions. I'm Eva Melton, and I'm here today with my co-host, Richard Rice. How are you, Richard?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Doing good. And our episode today, our guest is Dr. Chante Ruffin. Dr. Ruffin, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Good. Thank you for joining us today. So there's a lot of things we could talk to you about. I wanted to let everybody know that I first met Chante at Stillman College, and everybody thought that we were sisters. We're not, but I love it. I feel like it's a compliment. But when we graduated, well, as I went on to another institution, Chante graduated and went on to become a pediatrician. And she's now in a private practice in Alexander City, right here in Alabama, not too far from Birmingham. So if you're looking for a pediatrician, I highly recommend her. But Chante, today, before we get going, I want you to tell everybody who you are.
All right, thank you for having me, Eva and Richard. It's an honor to be a part of your talk tonight, but for those of you who don't know me, like Eva said, I am Dr. Chante Ruffin, formerly Mitchell. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. I am a proud graduate of Woodlawn High School, class of 1997, and a proud graduate of Stillman College, class of 2001. After I finished medical school in 2006, I went on to my pediatric residency in Pensacola, Florida at Florida State University. My family, we moved here to Alexander City in 2010, and I briefly worked, well, not briefly, but worked for 8 years with a local pediatrician and his group, and had a brief employment at another pediatrics office for about 15 months before opening my own practice in December of 2019.
Awesome. So what made you, go that extra step? It's, a lot of doctors just will work for hospitals or work for other doctor offices or networks, but what made you go that extra step?
So, there comes a point in your life where you have to prioritize what's important to you, what do you value the most. And for me, I have always valued, having family time, being around my family. So those are the things that were important to me. Not that my employers were accommodating, but I just felt like I needed to be in a position to be able to call the shots, no pun intended. But I also wanted to be in a position to create generational wealth and leave a legacy for my own family. So with all of those things, I decided, it's best for me to take control of my destiny and just step out on faith and do it.
Awesome. Richard, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So I'm having internet issues all day. So if it's choppy, you just bear with me. Okay. I guess. But, my question is somewhat related to the last question that you asked in terms of, why you chose to go the route that you did in particular in serving, working previously with the nonprofit and then also working in rural areas. Folks often describe these communities as underserved. Like, why do you feel compelled to put yourself in that type of environment and to do that type of work?
So as I mentioned in a previous, interview, if you decide to go into an underserved area, it's because you have that desire, to serve people who don't have the opportunities that the people in the bigger cities may serve. So if your heart isn't in it, it's something that you should not do. When I was exploring the opportunities of where I would work, when I finished residency, as some people may know, I was born in Clanton, and I knew that was a small area, but there were no pediatricians in Columbiana, where my family is from. So I was looking for areas that were close to home, close to my family, and the opportunity for Alexander City, came up. And when we interviewed in this area, we fell in love with the school system, fell in love with the people in the town, and felt like this would be a good fit for our family. So this is where we settled.
Good. Well, yeah, it's certainly definitely needed. It's a big need there. And especially like you said, if you can see it as, a fulfillment of, a purpose or a calling or, just the urge, then as opposed to being a burden. And that obviously is going to add value to the way you interact with your clients, your patients, and just your overall quality of life. I saw on your webpage you have 4 kids. Is that right?
I do. And I have always loved being around kids. I was, always around my cousins growing up, but I do have 4 kids. Their ages are 14, 10, 9, and 4, 2 boys and 2 girls.
All right. Well, that is impressive. And that was kind of like, I was asking, you chose to work with kids as your profession, and you just always had a love for children. And talk to us a little bit about that and why.
I don't know. I've just always been drawn to children. Like I said, I was a babysitter, growing up. My job in high school, I babysat as well. And I tried really hard as a medical student to find something else that I liked, because I did not want to go in with the notion that I'm going to be a pediatrician and just have tunnel vision. So I honestly tried to like other things, the OB aspect. When the baby was born, I moved away from the mother and followed the baby to the warmer. Internal medicine, adult medicine, I'm like, well, I don't know if I can talk with adults all day and, listen to chronic problems or try to get an adult to do what they're supposed to do. So I just couldn't find anything else that gave me joy, like pediatrics did. So that's how I ended up being a pediatrician.
Good. I definitely want Eva to jump back in, but I had another question. It's I don't want to get too far ahead, but school starting back for kids, and some of the schools are doing they're calling it the hybrid model. Some virtual, some in class, instruction. What general advice are you putting out there for the community or to your patients about how to navigate in these times?
Definitely, it's an individual decision. You can't base your decision off what someone else is doing, because you have to look at your own individual risk in your household. So I do talk to my patients, and ask, hey, is there anyone in your home or anyone that's around your child that may be considered high risk, such as elderly or someone who may have a chronic illness? You may need to consider, having your kids stay home and do virtual learning. Whereas if I have a child that I know, has behavior problems or ADHD or have some learning issues, I may tell that parent it's probably best for your child to be in the traditional setting, but take the precautions that are needed to keep them safe. For my own kids, they all
Definitely
are involved in school. They all love being in school. They all thrive being in the classroom. So they're all going back to school. So I've prepared them with keeping themselves healthy and keeping themselves safe. So it's just an individual assessment, and you have to decide what's best for your family. And I am thankful that people do have the option, to choose if they want to go back into the traditional setting or, take advantage of the virtual platform.
great. Back to you, Eva.
Sorry, I'm muted. My nieces are going virtually right now, and which makes me very happy. But I know we have a lot of, restrictions or things that we need to do around COVID, like wear our mask, wash our hands, use hand sanitizer, social distance. But a lot of times the question, what comes up, like, what can I do to be more preventative about boosting my own system immunity? The body is powerful. And so how are there some ways that we can boost our immunity, knowing that, there's no vaccine, and just saying by boosting my immunity that I'm not necessarily not going to catch COVID if I'm exposed to it, but what are some things that we can do to be in better health during these times?
Right. There are general precautions you should be taking anyway to keep yourself healthy, even when you think about the upcoming flu season. So although, all the talk is about COVID right now, we need to still be focused on being overall healthy. So the 3 main things that I discuss and I focus on is make sure you're getting a adequate amount of rest, make sure your diet is healthy. It's best to eat whole foods, whole fruits and vegetables. It's okay to do supplements, but you should really be getting all your nutrients from actual food. I discussed, we need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. Kids need a little bit more. in terms of, good proper sleep hygiene. Make sure you eliminate the screen time an hour before bed. Make sure your room is nice, dark, and quiet. So those are some of the things that I hit on, and also getting some type of exercise each day. You need to have a way to relax and have your brain to kind of wind down, during the day. So it's important to get at least 30 to 60 minutes of exercise and drinking plenty of water each day. So those are kind of the things that I highlight, in addition to washing your hands. If you have to cough or sneeze, do it in your sleep. So those are some of the things that I discuss.
So you said exercising 30 to 60 minutes a day.
Try to.
Okay.
Try to. Even with me, I can break it up, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I wear my watch, my Apple Watch. So I turn it on and I go in the hall or run up and down the stairs, if I can. So there are ways to get in your exercise, because I know a lot of us are busy and there are time constraints, but you can find at least 30 minutes to do something. Whether it's jumping jacks, jump rope, you can find 30 minutes to do something, Eva.
No, I don't know jumping jacks. My knee's bad, but
mine are bad now too. But
from basketball,
yeah,
yeah. But so I know you talked about the whole fruits, whole grains and whole fruits and natural foods or whatnot. Are there any particular vitamins that we're getting from that are helpful to us?
Yes. You think about your green leafy vegetables, you're getting a lot of the B vitamins. From those vegetables. You get vitamin A from carrots, your citrus fruits, you get a lot of vitamin C. One thing I forgot to mention, make sure you're getting high quality protein, from your eggs and your fish. Some people don't like fish, so it's best, you may have to supplement with a multivitamin with iron, because I know we have a lot of picky adults and a lot of picky kids. So if you can find a multivitamin that has all the B complex vitamins plus vitamin A, C, zinc, then it's probably best to just take a multivitamin every day. And I've also found that the emergency is really good. It's the powder mix that you can put, in your drink, and you can get a big boost of vitamin C, that way too.
Awesome.
It's expensive to eat healthy too, and I do realize that. So
yeah, I will say I've saved a lot of money in my budget because of COVID, because I've literally been cooking a whole lot more.
exactly.
And I feel like I've probably been eating better too. And that's a struggle, because if you're at home and you're not trying to be out, you do want to eat something good, and you're just not eating
Right.
grass all the time. That's what I call it. But yeah, so my next question would be, we've talked about, you starting your own practice, which is starting your own business. We've talked about, you being a mom. We've talked about your kids, school. What are some of your hobbies?
Well, and what's funny, when I tell people what I do, people around town know how busy I am. So when they see me out doing other things, or I mention that I'm involved in X, Y, and Z, they ask, how do you find the time to do that? I just do. But some of my hobbies are, of course, I make sure I have self-care. That's important to me. So I do, get my pedicures and manicures, and also a massage. But I'm also part of a monthly book club. About 2 years ago, a group of women decided that they would, invite women together who necessarily wasn't in the same circle, so we could form relationships, and also, pick a book each month to discuss. So that's, once a month that I do get to do that. But mostly you find me at the softball fields or somewhere with my kids. That's part of my hobbies, because my kids are very active, so I'm usually, with them. But I also do volunteer, on several boards in the community as well. So I found that balance, and it works for me. So I'm overall pleased with what I do.
Awesome. Richard, did you have any more questions?
I did. I see that behavioral health is a large portion of your practice. I just kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about, like, what is behavioral health, and then also wanted to talk to you about ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, and how that impacts behavioral health. And then I've recently seen additional studies around, adverse community experiences in which we talk more about, maybe like systemic issues that are oftentimes attached to a certain zip code or geography or, maybe more intense. So just could you talk a little bit generally about behavioral health, and I can follow up about the ACEs after that.
Okay. Actually, I do some behavioral health. It's not a large part of my practice. I mainly try to stick with school-related issues such as attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, and oppositional defiant disorder. So I mainly, if kids are struggling in school or, struggling to get their homework done, then we'll do some ADHD, but a lot of the more in-depth psychiatric issues, I don't really deal with that. I try to refer to a psychiatrist, someone who has a little bit more experience than myself.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I guess then it's like after you understand that person has developed that type of, whether it be an illness or a disability,
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. But then just in terms of just generally maintaining overall behavioral health, what advice can you give to folks to try to avoid some of these adverse childhood experiences, or to how to address, some of these systemic issues like racism, and what's a healthy way for parents to help their kids deal with those types of things?
So those topics normally don't come up unless, there's something going on nationwide, with the recent events that we, encountered. That discussion has come up, a little bit more about how do you talk to your children about things such as that. It's not something I routinely bring up, but if it's something that's going on nationally, then I will, discuss it, because it's a conversation we've had to have, with our own children. As scary as it is, we have to have those conversations about pretty much doing what you're supposed to do, doing what is right, obeying the law, but also don't find yourself, in a situation where, you could become a target or, something like that. It's always a touchy subject.
Right. And that's true. And I mean, in terms of like, is there appropriate age or something? Because I know I've heard people talk about that, it's trying to find balance between, giving kids space to kind of find their own way and assess the world on their own, but also you want to protect them and prepare them and arm them to be able to deal with situations and not just be completely blindsided. So is there any general information you would give about that?
I agree. I do encourage parents for the kids who do have, smartphones, and even some of the younger kids have access to tablets, and you have to monitor what they are, watching on those tablets, because my oldest daughter, sadly, watched the George Floyd murder before we could even say something to her about it. And she said that, and she's 14, she said that was an image I could not get out of my head. So I think it's important for parents to be aware what their kids are watching, because we don't want the world to teach them things we should be teaching them. So is there an appropriate age? No, it's not. I think even with our 4-year-old, we had that conversation, with him, because he needs to hear it from us and not the world. And I'm not sure if I answered your question completely, but
No, you did. No, you definitely
okay.
answered it. That's helpful. And even like you said, you had a conversation with a 4-year-old. It's like, you obviously, the conversation may be different with the 4-year-old than it is with the 14-year-old, but
Right.
I mean, kids can, surprise you sometimes with their ability to, grapple with these topics. And maybe
Right.
sometimes we do them more of a disservice by trying to shield them from the reality too, It's like,
Right. And we should not shield them at all from the reality. This is our reality. It is what it is, and this is what you need to know,
So I had another quick question for you then too. I'm a college football fan, and I like sports generally, just all sports. But I mean, I also try to be, responsible with the platform that we have, and we use it to try to educate, and we learn a lot too by doing these interviews. But so many people they're just tired of this COVID-19, the pandemic, the restrictions, the changes that have been, we're being called to undertake. But what is your general thought on, college football starting back, or do you think that it's an unsafe thing to do, or do you think that if it's a new normal, we have to find a way to do the same things, but just do them in a safer way?
This is a touchy one as well, because we do have a lot of sports fans, but my take on it, and this is what I've told a lot of people, I'm all for schools opening back up because I feel like kids need an education. However, football will always be there. We can take a break. It's okay. We can find a way to get back to our sports, later on. And I just don't see a safe way of us getting into a stadium, a crowded stadium with people cheering and people screaming and spreading, the disease, because who wants to sit outside in 90-degree weather with a mask on? No one. So I think will be a little irresponsible for us to rush to have college sports right now, and even high school. I think we should step back and just hold off and wait on that and find another means to entertain us during this time. Because I like sports too, but I'm okay with having to wait. It's not the end of the world. However, I do feel like kids need to be in school.
And I think so too. I mean, that's probably the responsible response. I think that's the right thing. We have to kind of weigh the cost and what's the benefit, what's the risk, and make a prudent decision from there. And education is certainly something that it's a cornerstone. It's a public good. We always put that out there. I don't know, sometimes we fully appreciate that, but it benefits us all to make sure that we continue with that. So yeah, I think moving forward, we're probably going to see most of the conferences maybe pull back from doing football season, but the SEC is a different animal. And just my personal thought is like, I want to see the quote unquote student athletes, leverage this opportunity to receive the benefits and wages that you should receive in a free society.
Right.
Yeah. But back to you, Eva.
All right. Well, I think I got most of my questions answered, but one thing I wanted to do, Dr. Ruffin, if you could tell us, if you know your website, social media handles, and exactly how somebody can find you via phone, online, and physically in Alexander City.
So we have a heavy presence on Facebook. If you look up Heritage Kids Alexander City, we have an awesome Facebook page. I'm proud to say that another Stillman College graduate is managing my marketing account, Chastity Shepherd. Our website is www.heritagekidz.com. And physically, we're located in Alexander City on the campus of Russell Medical Center in the professional building, Suite 108.
And you actually, Richard and I are in Birmingham, but you actually have patients, because Alexander City is really just like a skip and a hop down the road, but you actually have patients that come up from Birmingham to Alexander City, right?
People say if you find, because I even drove an hour before to a doctor. So if you find quality care and that person may be an hour away, sometimes it is worth the drive. And I do have patients that come from Birmingham. I have my own family too that have transferred to see me. So it's really an honor to be able to take care of children, and even more special when I get to take care of my family, my nieces and nephews and my cousins. So I can definitely say it's a very rewarding practice and profession.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so proud of you. So Birmingham Times called you the small town doctor with a big time heart. And I really, knowing you personally, I really believe that. And so I'm so grateful that Alabama has a jewel like you, as well as Alexander City, and that you're just down the road from those of us who need quality pediatric services. So we thank you for joining us on this evening. Richard, did you have anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you for joining us, Dr. Ruffin, and thank you for, the work that you're doing, and the communities that you're serving. We appreciate it. And I'll do my part to put the name out and refer some folks to you as well.
I appreciate it. And thank you guys again for having me on. And if you need me back, I would love to be back. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.